Welcome to U.S. Immigration. In this video we will discuss about June and future visa bulletin predictions from the State Department. Charlie Oppenheim, chief of the Visa Control and Reporting Division from the U.S. Department of State, provided some insight and predictions related to the June and future visa bulletin in their official channel in April 22, 2021. Mr. Oppenheim prediction covers rest of fiscal year 2021, which runs through September 30. If you are interested in this topic, please stick around till the end of this video. For your immigration news and updates, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to hit that notification bell. Let's get into the video. What Charlie does. Charlie, he issues the visa bulletin each month around 10th and fixes the dates on the bulletin based on demand for visas. Since these visa categories are numerically limited, meaning that only a set number of visas are available each fiscal year, the more demand, the more the dates will move backward or stay the same. If there is less demand, the dates move forward. Important responses from State Department is trimmed and presented in this video. You can check the complete interview in State Department official link. State Department will hold future sessions soon after the visa bulletin is published. The information regarding that will also be published in the visa bulletin. As per the State Department, usage of family-based visas remains low. The usage of family-based immigrant visas remains low due to the ongoing pandemic. This is because over 95% of family-based immigrant visas are processed by consular posts overseas, many of which have very limited visa appointments available. Let's get into general questions before discussing specifically on employment, family, and diversity visa questions. Why family-based dates are moving slow while there is aggressive movement in employment-based category.
It's important to remember that approximately 95% of the family-sponsored numerical limit is processed overseas by our overseas post, and approximately 85 to 90% of the employment-based numbers are used for adjustment of status cases by applicants that are already here in the U.S. So again, you can kind of gauge, how things are happening around the world, kind of gauge how processing might be impacted.
Why there is delay in interviews in U.S. consulates.
Most of the overseas appointments are scheduled for the family and employment categories are scheduled by our National Visa Center. They must work through the cases once we have made the determination of the May dates and provided that information to our National Visa Center. They are only then able to begin reviewing the cases to determine which are eligible for scheduling of a visa interview. Then they must also work with the various posts to see what their processing capacity may be. That scheduling on our National Visa Center's part has become much more difficult during these COVID-19 times when there is limited post-processing capacity. Again, on the travel.state.gov website, I believe there is information on the types of visas that are being processed based on post capacities.
Why visa bulletin is not released on same day of every month?
Excellent question. It's our attempt is to make the determination of each upcoming month's final action dates in the bulletin, etc., on or about the 8th of the month, depending on how that may fall in relation to a holiday or weekend. Once we have made the determination of the dates and prepared the visa bulletin and another item, which is a cable to our overseas post announcing not only the final action dates, but also other visa related information, that information has to be cleared by a number of individuals which have extremely busy schedules with other items and things. Depending on the workload, it can take some time for the entire clearance process to be completed. Every attempt is always made to get the clearance out as fast as possible and the visa bulletin posted quickly each month. And the time has, in recent months, the bulletin has been coming out earlier than it had been.
How aggressively is USCIS processing all the cases?
The information I have from the USCIS offices is that they are aggressively processing all available cases. In terms of their processing issues, I believe that the Inquirer can find that information on various USCIS websites. They list information on processing times, etc.
Let's get into family-based questions and responses from Charlie. Do you expect worldwide family dates to advance through September?
Possible exception of the family fourth preference and the Philippine family dates, I do not expect any forward movement, and any that occurs through August would be minimal. Based on information that I've recently received, we do expect to advance the worldwide and India fourth preference dates for June. Again, worldwide family fourth and India family fourth will be moving for the month of June.
Even though I submitted all of the required document, why my case is not scheduled for interview?
As I mentioned earlier, as with the case of the operations at USCIS offices in the US, the COVID-19 related issues have severely affected our ability at the overseas post to process cases as they normally would. Therefore, the scheduling of cases is largely dependent upon the conditions at each particular post, and safety is of primary concern. Individuals should check the travel.state.gov website that has links to all of the U.S. embassies and consulates websites where you may be able to find information on the particular post which is handling your case's operational status.
Will Hong Kong be treated as independent country?
Family and employment-based categories, the Hong Kong remains treated as an independent country as they have been. And for the diversity visa program, please refer to the announcement for the DV 2022 registration period for specific information on how the foreign state status for Hong Kong would be applied for that program. But for family sponsored, in the numerically controlled categories and employment-based applicants, Hong Kong remains as it has been for the past several decades.
When family preference priority date will come close to the filing dates?
The filing dates are typically 8 to 12 months out from where I believe the final action dates will be. It has, because of the COVID-19 issues impacting processing overseas, the family dates have not been moving as fast as one might normally expect. So it may take longer for some of the established family application dates to be reached.
Will any family-based category dates retrogress?
None of the family dates will retrogress this fiscal year.
Let's get into diversity visa questions. When DV rank cutoff for Egypt will be current?
For the month of June, all of the regional DV rank cutoffs have become current based on the amount of documentarily qualified demand, which has already been reported to my office through the Kentucky Consular Center. I expect that such status will remain throughout the year, and that all countries will be current for DV processing effective for July. And again, people must be documentarily qualified and have been reported to my office.
When will Egypt, Nepal, and Iran DV visa cutoff will be current?
Nepal's diversity visa rank cutoff, the category for the month of July will be current. Currently, all of the DV regional rank cutoffs were made current for the month of June. We will be making the remaining rank cutoffs for Egypt, Nepal, and Iran applicants will also be current effective for the month of July. This is being done in an effort to be able to maximize diversity visa number use by those applicants who have acted in a very timely manner, submitted all the required documentation to the Kentucky Consular Center.
What purpose was served by making DV 2021 visa numbers available over 100,000 when consulates issued only 20 DV visas?
And we schedule or have the registration period for each year's diversity visa program. We always select enough applicants to help ensure that we can maximize number use under the annual limits. It's important to remember that a lot of people that apply for the diversity visa program, they may not follow through with that registration, even if they're selected for whatever reason. Sometimes applicants will be refused upon their interview, or again, like I said, they may not proceed. When we had the DV 2021 registration period and made the selection of applicants, the registration period was pre-pandemic, and the selection was made last spring, but we have to proceed under the assumption that normal processing could return at some point. That allows us to potentially maximize number use under the various annual limits. If we had not registered applicants and miraculously this COVID had suddenly gone away, then we would have been in the situation where we did not have applicants for the numbers that could have been used. It is also important to remember that all of the diversity information on registration clearly indicates that selection to participate in the program does not guarantee visa availability. So that is a very important thing to remember.
Will there be any retrogression in the DV visa?
We do not believe that will be the case at this time based on the applicant response rate to date, which is, to be perfectly honest, it has been very low in most cases compared to previous years. But there is always a chance for a corrective action of some type, retrogression of a date or making a category unavailable if subsequent events make that necessary. But at this point, we do not have any reason to believe there will be a need to reimpose any type of final or rank cutoffs for the DV 2021 program.
As per the State Department, rapid advancement of employment-based visa categories happens for the rest of fiscal year 2021. Due to the low usage of family-based visas, the potential available employment-based visas for the next fiscal year will be at least 275,000. This will have a positive impact on EB visa availability for China and India. Let's get into the questions. Can USCIS process all the green cards available, as per the annual limit for employment visa, without wasting them, since the annual limit available this year and next year is going to be huge?
I'd like to start off by mentioning the fact that the USCIS offices were processed over 95% of the 2020 employment annual limit under extremely difficult conditions because of the COVID-19 issues. Shows that they are dedicated to maximizing number use. This year's annual limit is approximately 68% higher than last year's. Most overseas and domestic operations were already working at peak capacity and the COVID-related issues remain. And that's very important for everybody to remember. Therefore, we believe it would be somewhat unrealistic not to expect that there to be tens of thousands of unused numbers despite everybody's best efforts this year.
How EB2 number will move? Will India numbers move at aggressive pace throughout year?
Although we do expect that additional otherwise unused numbers under the annual limit to become available, I must not be too aggressive at this point in terms of providing numbers to the India employment second preference category, while there's a potential need for those numbers by rest of world applicants. So I will continue to move the India EB2 date aggressively for June and July. But again, I will want to make sure that we do have plenty of numbers for all other countries under their per country limits.
Why USCIS is allowing date of filing chart only for short period of time?
Again, this is a question best posed directly to USCIS, but from my discussions with them, when USCIS is making their determination of whether to allow those dates to be used for filing, they take into consideration issues such as the annual limits, the amount of numbers which have already been used, the amount of cases that have been filed and that are pending action. Therefore, if they believe that the resulting totals are sufficient to use all available numbers under the annual limits, they may decide that the Chart B application filing dates may no longer be used for filings. But I would suggest that everybody monitor the USCIS website very carefully in the coming months to see if the application date use has any type of change.
Will India employment category get all the extra employment green cards spilled over from family categories?
The Immigration and Nationality Act imposes a 7% per country limit to avoid any single country from being able to monopolize the vast majority of numbers in the various preference categories. But it is important to remember for the employment visa categories, Section 202A(5) of the Immigration Act says that if the total demand for numbers will be insufficient to allow them to be used in a particular employment category, then those numbers can be made available strictly in priority date order without regard to any normal annual limits. So therefore, at this time, for example, in the employment second preference, India number use does exceed their per country limit and will continue to for the year.
Will September 2021 final action date surpass the filing date mentioned in October 2020 visa bulletin? Will any employment category retrogress?
With the exception of the China employment fifth preference application date and the India third preference application filing date, which was subsequently retrogressed, the answer is yes. By September, they will have been exceeded. In fact, as I said, many have already been surpassed based on the May final action dates. And it is important to remember that the application filing dates, which were listed in the October 2020 visa bulletin, are those where it was expected that the final action dates would be in September. And those dates some of the dates have advanced throughout the year and will be advanced as we move forward in the summer months.
If there's any change in filing dates in visa bulletin, how long it takes for the final action dates to catch up?
Final action date will be 8 to 12 months from the time the change was made. So if I made a change for the month in the May bulletin, you can expect that application filing date to have been reached by the final action date 8 to 12 months in the future.
Will any of employment dates retrogress in visa bulletin?
The answer is a definite no. The final action dates, which are in place at this time, will be the minimum going through the month of September. Again, I do believe that all of the dates in employment categories will continue to move forward through the remainder of the year.
How many visa will spill over from EB4 and EB5 to EB1, EB2 and EB3?
I would say that it is likely that the employment fourth preference limit will have an excellent chance of being reached this year. Any unused numbers would fall up to the employment first, as would any employment fifth preference numbers. I do at this point, the combination of the two, expect there to probably be at least 10,000 numbers that would fall up to the employment first preference category. The employment first preference category is current for all countries now, meaning there is enough numbers available for everybody. So if we do not have sufficient demand to use the first preference limit, those unused first preference numbers will then fall down to employment second preference and can be used in that preference category. And that has already started to happen, and is part of the reason why we have made aggressive movement in the China and India employment second preference date.
How does EB2 to EB3 downgrade impacts date movement?
That is a very good question. The amount of downgrades from second preference applicants who have basically changed their mind and refiled under the third to take advantage of the third preference date will potentially impact the movement of the India employment third preference date. At this time, it is too early to tell. When we did retrogress the India third preference application filing date, that was done in consultation with the USCIS headquarters, and the establishment of that 2014 India date was the projected goal for September. So every effort will be made to get to that point. And again, our goal is to maximize number use under the various annual limits.
Will EB2 China will advance rapidly in coming months?
China employment second preference date will be advancing rapidly in the coming months. It will get easily into calendar year 2017. At this moment, if I had to make a guess, I would say that it would get to at least the summer of 2017.
Will final action dates of June moves aggressively like May?
Yes, I do believe the India third preference final action date will once again be moved aggressively for the month of June. Again, I believe that all of the June dates will be moved very aggressively, at least at the rate that we moved them for the month of May, potentially at a greater rate. And then it is possible that come for the July dates, we may slow down the movement to some extent. At this point, I think that may be unlikely though.
Hope the information presented in the video is useful. U.S. Immigration Channel will be releasing a video when additional information is available on any of these program or regulations. If you have not subscribed, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do not forget to hit that notification bell. See you soon in our next video.